What is up, guys? Today I'm going to talk about Falconer. This is a band that probably one of the most interesting bands in all of power metal, in my opinion. They're a Swedish band. They kind of have a medieval fantasy type of vibe. Not quite sounding like Blind Guardian, but kind of something of their very own, I would say. There's really nothing quite like Falconer, to be honest with you. They really are kind of in their own league. Now when I talk about Falconer, and by the way, I found out about this band by a friend that I hung out with since I've been like 18 years old, or 17, 18 years old. I remember him showing me Falconer. I remember thinking, this is a pretty cool band, and now I've got everything in their catalog. But and now, unfortunately, they're disbanded, I believe. It really sucks. I've never got to see them live. I've always wanted to. But yeah, so talking about Falconer and them being Swedish kind of reminds me of another discography of another band called Hammerfall that is also Swedish. And I feel like both these bands kind of have the same similar problems, as much as I like these two bands. But today we're specifically talking about Falconer. So the reason why I'm not doing a tier ranking video for Falconer, and I probably won't do one for Hammerfall unless I change my mind. So they have a lot of albums. I don't know how many, I haven't counted, but the first three are brilliant. I mean, they're absolutely magical. Some of the best albums ever made, period. And then I feel like they lost something after that for the rest of their discography. Hammerfall is in the exact same category, and it's so weird that they're both Swedish. 3 great albums, they lose it. I hate this because this band has so much potential. Now, Falconer has never gotten bad or just worthless. I'm not saying that. I just think they lost something. What made the first 3 albums so amazing, it's like it still sounds like Falconer, but that magic is just gone. That little magical pixie dust or whatever, it's gone. It's just not there. But let's talk about those 3 albums. First, we start off with a self-titled, just Falconer. And oh boy, this one is probably one of their heaviest, fastest, most brutal, although I wouldn't really call Falconer brutal, but this one is definitely pretty intense for a Falconer album. And shoot, what year did this even come out? I was wanting to think it was late 90s, but it says 2001 Metal Blade Records, so maybe it was 2001, I don't know. So this is just straight up medieval power metal. As you can tell by the album cover, very medieval. You got song titles like Upon the Grave of Guilt, Heresy in Disguise, Wings of Serenity, A Quest for the Crown, Mind Traveler, Entering Eternity, Royal E. You get the picture. So along with the metal, there is a little touch of that medieval music in there, with a little bit of like the just minstrel music scattered around here and there. Very cool. One of the things I have to really mention about this band, for one thing, the guitar work is really unique and incredible. For a band that's kind of in the same genre as like Blind Guardian, they really sound nothing like Blind Guardian. Completely different. The singer, Matthias Blad, is one of the best singers I've ever heard, period. Seriously, one of the best singers. And the funny thing is, he don't even really have that wide of a range. He sings really low most of the time. Like, I have a higher voice than this guy does. But he's 10 times better than I'll ever be. It's so good. It's unique. Not for many bands where I can say a lower singer would have worked better than a higher singer. But and by the way, their production has always been kind of polished. I'm not always the biggest fan of polished productions, but it don't matter here. It sounds fine. Its music probably sounds better that way. You know, the guitars are heavy. A lot of times they sound like they could be tuned down. Not always. Very, very high gain, heavy tone. But very epic. Then they do their second album, Chapters from a Vale Forlorn. Gotta love that title. Gotta love the album cover as well. So, you know, it's just kind of more of the same. This one's not as fast, not as intense as the first album, but that's not necessarily a bad thing, because the melodies and the songwriting here is just absolutely as good as the first album in every way. You know, you get tracks like Decadence of Dignity, Enter the Glade, Lament of a Minstrel, For Life and Liberty. You know, it's just a lot of the same stuff. A lot of the same topics, same vibe. Production's pretty similar. Matthias Blad is still the same as he was on the first album, just fantastic. So, yeah. So, again, a win-win. Now, we have to go to the third album, which this is one of the more unusual albums in their discography, and unfortunately, I would consider this their last really, really top-notch strong album, and that's The Scepter of Deception. Also, look at that. Very, very cool. You know what you're getting into with this just by looking at it. So, this one did not have Matthias Blad, which one would say that's a bad thing. But to be honest with you, if you're going to replace Matthias with anybody, I'm glad they replaced him with the guy that's on this album. And I don't quite know his name, unfortunately. But this dude has actually a little more of a higher voice. Not a super, super high voice, but you know, it's higher for sure. A lot more, I don't know what you want to call it. I don't have that more it definitely doesn't have that baritone sound of Matthias at all. This is a little more of a typical singer, but man, he sounds really, really good on this. And musically, it's about the same. It's about the same as the other two albums. It's got a little bit of fast, a little bit of slower traditional. It's all kind of a mixed bag. Matthias does come back for a couple tracks here, does a few parts. He does kind of show up doing like a line in the middle of a song, and the last track, Child of Innocence, is a straight up like minstrel song, and it's Matthias Blad. Fantastic. I really wish Falconer did more tracks like that. That's one of the best tracks I think they've ever done. It's just really cool. The kind of stuff that Blind Guardian I think should even be a little jealous of. It's so good. But that's Falconer in a nutshell. And of course, they've done a bunch more albums. I don't know. I can't pinpoint what is wrong with the other albums. Again, the guitar playing, it's the same style. The vocals are the same. It's Matthias again. The production's good. Everything sounds on point. It's just they're not as magical. I don't know what it is. I don't get the same vibe. And Hammerfall did the same thing. I don't know. They just kind of lost what got them going somehow. But in Hammerfall's case, I can actually hear a little bit of a direction change. The music kind of went a little slower, a little more Manowar meets Accept. But I don't know. Falconer still sounded like Falconer to the end. I just don't feel it as much as I do these first three albums. But if I say if you're going to get into this band, get the first three. Listen to the other ones later, but get the first three first. But that's about all I can say about Falconer. But till next time, guys, thanks for watching.